Most of them are not worth the effort. Get yourself a girl that's average, a little bit above average, you know what I'm saying, as a main, right? Or a girl that's gonna be, because those girls tend to be a little bit more useful.
Ay, ay, ay. What is all this vitriol been directed at our lovely 9s and 10s? I'm here in Eastern Europe, the region in the world with the highest concentration of the Olympian level beauty. So these two American red pill influencers, is it a case of sour grapes having been scorned by the uber hotties of Miami? Or is there a little bit of substance to their criticism? Let's go find out. Hi, Submergem.
SAR Experience.
So I'm going to react to a 3 or 4 minute clip that Fresh and Fit put on their YouTube channel. And Fresh and Fit, basically it's a brand name for a in-studio vodcast in general, is the format it takes with two guys who profess to be, from what I can see anyways, red pill influencers. They are going by the pseudonyms of Fresh Prince CEO and Myron Gaines. The real names are actually Walter Weeks and Amru Fudul. And basically the format is they invite on plenty of girls into the studio, they interact with them over the course of an hour or two. Normally they're girls that they've met somewhere, I guess, in Miami. They all seem to be from Miami, where they're based in general. And yeah, it becomes very melodramatic. There's a lot of conflicts, and basically then they kick off certain girls. It's this kind of, I would say, very lowbrow, kind of trashy entertainment show. And not really directed towards, in my opinion, it was directed towards actually helping guys. It's more about the entertainment factor. And I took a look at their Instagrams, and I would make the same critique that I made of Andrew Tate's Instagram. I actually made the video here in Chisinau last summer before he was carted off to sit in detention with his brother in Romania, where they now sit as I make this video. And basically, there's a lot of flexing, yachts, planes, fast cars, other guys also flexing. And that is an Instagram that, in my opinion, is optimized to attract women who are gold diggers or insecure young guys, right? So anyways, let's get into watching the clip. It's on their YouTube channel, and the title is Why You Don't Want to Date 9s and 10s. Myron went off. So let's see what Myron Gaines has to say here.
This is what other people are not telling y'all. I've dated these girls. He's dated these girls. Most of them are headaches.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Like, yo, I need a really bad blah, blah, blah. Are y'all prepared for her to be an attention whore? Are you guys prepared for her to want to be around her friends all the time and do whole shit? Are you guys prepared for her to not clean up your place after you went to the gym for an hour or two and you come back and she's just on her phone looking at her Instagram? Are you guys prepared for her to be a narcissistic, annoying bimbo?
A narcissistic, annoying bimbo. But that's nothing to do with being a 9 or a 10. That's just being a narcissistic, annoying bimbo. And you can be a 2 and be a narcissistic, annoying bimbo.
Are y'all prepared for her to stop by every single mirror that she walks by to look at herself?
Again, these are all things that, whether girls are super beautiful or ugly, many of them are going to do it anyways. So yeah, it's about being narcissistic.
Are y'all prepared for her to introduce you to her social circle of friends who annoy the fuck out of you because they're useless as well?
Again, he's hanging on girls that he thinks are useless, not necessarily women who are 9s and 10s. When we say 9 and 10, we mean the super uber beautiful. I have a video about how to rank or figure out what is a 9 and 10. I'll link it up above in a card down below in the description, here in Eastern Europe, and how it moves basically depending on where you are in the world. But basically we're talking about a girl who's a 1 in 1,000 in terms of looks. Us guys, we're primarily visual due to evolutionary biology. It's not the only thing we judge women on, but this kind of scale of 9 to 10 or 5, 6, 7, most guys can relate to it, so it's an easy shorthand. But so far there's nothing to suggest at all or from their Instagram that they actually go out with 9s and 10s. They just seem to be ending up with girls that they think are narcissistic, annoying, useless, lazy. Again, not connected to being super beautiful.
Are y'all prepared for this? Real talk. This is just some of the things that come along with dealing with a really bad bitch that most y'all are not prepared to handle.
So, a really bad bitch, not a 9 or a 10, a baddie. So, my understanding of what that is a girl who has an attractive body but a really bad attitude. Again, they're annoying because they have a bad attitude. Not because they're the super beautiful in the top 0.1% or something. Let's go on, let's see him rant on more.
It's always going to be, and you're going to have to be on point with everything you do. You're going to have to be checking her all the time. And she may or may not reciprocate to that very well. Like, bro, you can't tell these girls nothing, bro.
Yeah, a lot of them are so up in their head, bro. That's like, bro, if you're not on a level where she can actually respect you.
Aha. This is the key word, not on a level that she can respect you. So this is about perception of value more than them being super beautiful. And obviously there's a connection there because girls who are the 9s and 10s, they have the most options because us guys, as I said, guys knowing, all guys know this, we're primarily visual at first. So yeah, they're gonna have the more options, they can be more demanding, and they can also aspire to date the guys who are, in their opinion, the highest value, more than the girls who are less good looking, as a generalization.
But we're keeping it all the way 1,000 with y'all. Most coaches would not admit this.
Yeah.
But I'm telling y'all, these bad bitches, we're with them. We deal with them every night. Chris talks to them every night. We deal with them every night.
Let me just roll just the thumbnails and a little bit of the B-roll from who they actually invite on. And you tell me, you be the judge. Are these women 9s and 10s in general? I'm gonna give you just a fair reflection of it. I mean, especially being here in Eastern Europe, I mean, these girls, a lot of them are 2s and 3s. I'm not seeing too many 9s and 10s there.
No one has dealt with more girls and spoken to more girls than us on this fucking podcast. I don't care what nobody says. We're dealing with the baddest chicks in the United States. We're telling y'all how it really is.
They're dealing with the girls with the worst attitude maybe in the United States because they're inviting them on for entertainment purposes. Not necessarily, not at all the most beautiful, not even close.
Most of them are not worth the effort. Get yourself a girl that's average, a little bit above average, you know what I'm saying, as a main, right? Or a girl that's gonna be because those girls tend to be a little bit more useful.
So here's advice is don't date the 9s and 10s, date a 5 or a soft 6. That's way, I think what he's saying, that's way safer. And this is pretty typical, I find, with the dating coaches in the manosphere or guys giving dating advice. When you look at who they actually date in general, now I can't see who these guys actually go out with because it's not so clear. But you know, there are other videos where that's been exposed, just in general, especially the Red Pill or the pickup artist community. They're dating between 2s and 6s. The soft 6 is kind of the high point of their aspirations of a girl to actually date. So again, this is connected to perception of value in the sense that, you know, if you're a guy who maybe can occasionally get a 7 and 8, but you're not really seen as high enough value to maintain her, then of course you're going to be safer with the 5 or 6 because, you know, she's probably going to perceive you as good enough value to date long term. But that's got nothing to do with 9s and 10s, other than the fact that they have more options. It just sounds like a really weak friend. He seems to be attracting what he calls bad bitches, girls with really bad attitudes. Well, of course you don't want to hang around with them. Of course you don't want to be investing time into them. They got a bad attitude. It's not going to change if you find a 4 and she's got a bad attitude. She's also going to be annoying, lazy, narcissistic. So again, completely disconnected. It just sounds real like they tried with girls who were better looking. It didn't work out because, again, they weren't perceived as high enough fun. And I can actually tell a personal anecdote. It's a little bit similar because these guys are hanging out in Miami, which by American standards does attract a lot of beautiful women relatively. And I used to live in Munich in Germany, a place that I think in Western Europe actually has a lot of beautiful women. And you know, I arrived there, I did speak German, but I didn't speak it super well. And I didn't have a social circle. And you know, I didn't know the city that well either, so I had to go and figure out where everything was. I was working with the people from my workplace. They weren't in really that much help in terms of the social circle or going out and meeting people or anything like that. And when I was there, after about, you know, maybe 6 months, 9 months, I started, you know, to find the good places to go out, started to meet a lot of beautiful women, build up a little bit of a social circle. That took almost a year. And then occasionally I would hook up with an 8 or 9 or, well, an 8 or a 9, we'll say, in Munich. But it was not possible for me at the time anyways to actually date these girls long term. And the simple reality is they did not perceive me in their world as being high enough be, of course, you can be in the right place, go to, be know all the strategy and tactics, be able to communicate pretty well, figure out the local culture. Obviously, at that point, my German had gotten a lot better as well. Even though they speak English, speaking local language is always basically going to be a big advantage 99% of the time. But the real big, I guess, obstacle for me in Munich and Germany is my competition for these 9s and 10s or the 8s are like the football players from Bayern Munich football team, right? As an example, because there was a little bit of rivalry with the former German national team captain at one point with my crew over girls and stuff. But that's the level that you're competing with. Guys who are tall, famous, super wealthy, got lots of local social status. The guy was like ex-football captain for the national team. And you'd see a lot of these guys around when you're out, and they would be, even though that guy was actually married at the time, so she preferred to be his mistress, in effect. I'm not going to say his name in case he tries to sue me. Rather than date someone like me or someone else who was in my crew, for example, right? But that's just about perception of value. It's got nothing to do with the fact that she's a 9 or 10, other than the fact that she's obviously got more options. If you come to Eastern Europe, it's a lot easier because there are more 9s and 10s here, and socioeconomically it's a bit different. It's not as developed. You're not going to, maybe you would compete with the, you know, a member of the Moldovan national football team. Actually, I used to hang out with one here, so I know what that's all about. I was actually out at his this was maybe, this was a good few years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. Used to hang out with a member of the football team here a little bit. So yeah, it's just a lot easier because you have a bit less competition. As I said, guys in the south of Germany were tall. It's a very wealthy region. Guys who grew up there were socially connected. It's very hard to get into the cool places unless you're known, especially if you're a guy. Obviously, your hot girl is very different, but if you're a guy and they don't know who you are, in general, the best places, the bouncer said, 9. Raus. Straight away. But then you get known and you get in the right social circles, it gets a little bit easier. But again, basically, you had less 9s and 10s, more competition, and if you're not perceived in general, of course, you know, with good strategy or, you know, creating your own look. Occasionally, like was my case, you would go out with these girls, maybe hook up with them, but it was a lot harder than it's going to be here if you have the right plan in Eastern Europe and you actually come and spend some time. Anyways, more about that later. As opposed to being a tourist, which is not great here in Eastern Europe for meeting women.
Let's say you set up a date with one of these girls, right? These girls are notorious for flaking. Y'all want to know why? The dark story? She has one guy offering $1,000 for dinner.
She got options.
She has another dude that's offering to fly her to LA. She has another guy that invited her to a yacht party. She has another dude that hit her up and told her, yo, send me a feet picture, I'll send you $700. Bro.
Again, they have more options. You're not, in their perception, the highest value option or near the top. That's why they flake. That's just a harsh reality. But that's going to happen if you're trying to date a 3 and a 4 and they perceive you as a 1. It's going to be the same thing, right, in terms of volume. Again, there's a little bit of overlap what I was talking about with my experience in Munich. But like if the girl is doing OnlyFans or whatever he's talking about, getting paid money to send photos, or yeah, that's a red flag. Again, these are the girls you should be screening out, in my opinion, in general. But the idea of that she can get invited for the yacht party or, you know, go out with some uber famous sports star, it's just, she's got a better option in her opinion.
What kind of individual would you be if women were offering you money, sex, trips, all this other stuff for nothing more than you existing? Like, really, I want you to flip the script for a second. How would you behave if women from all around the world were hitting you up, offering you boat rides, flights, expensive vacations, cash money, fucking bags, shoot, you know, designer clothes, Jordans, everything that you wanted?
This is a typical experience for many beautiful women also here in Eastern Europe. This is kind of a worldwide phenomenon. Guys trying to simp, slide into their DMs, offer them stuff. Now you're gonna have a certain percentage of girls who are gonna go for that. Here in Eastern Europe, if they just want to be flown out, I mean, they're already gone, right? You know, probably Dubai or somewhere like that. Obviously, they can manipulate a lot of guys to get them to buy them gifts, string them along. And yeah, that's a pretty common phenomenon. And a lot of other girls have better morals and they're just not interested.
How would you behave
I'll be
to the
too.
opposite gender, nigga, if girls were offering you all this for nothing more than the fact that you had a dick?
Well, that's just down to your own moral compass. Well, I think we know what these two guys' moral compass is. They jump right in it, basically. They behave exactly like these baddies are behaving with them.
I'll be bougie and picky too. It's what
There
it
you
is.
go.
It's what it is, man.
My friends, and that is why the modern woman behaves the way that they do, these attractive girls.
No, it's if you attract girls with a bad attitude. That's why they're called baddies.
It literally fucks with your psyche when you have people offering you things and giving you a certain lifestyle when you've done nothing to earn it. This is the world that we're in.
Just show up.
Blame the internet, nigga. That's why this book, Why Women Deserve Less, is going to get this through your.
So then he claims that basically women just have to show up, that they're just born with this beauty. Now, to a certain extent, obviously, in general, guys, you know, when they have this research on dating apps, they tend to swipe right. Women between 20 and 25, and we judge women through evolution biology first, visually. So there's probably a little bit of a misperception that the girl just has to show up, she's just beautiful, as if no work went into it. And I see this here in Eastern Europe, because 10 years ago, girls were not as much into fitness, they didn't have as good style. Actually, the skin, the quality of the skin and how they took care of it was a lot worse 10 years ago. It was actually something I noticed a lot of girls having bad skin about 10 years ago here in East Europe. Now I don't see it so much at all, because they have more information, they invest a lot more time, probably more resources into improving how they look. Instagram is probably a big factor in that as well. Obviously, you get the right Instagram fix. Although I guess filters are negating the necessity to actually look hot in reality, but that, you know, taking that into account, yeah, definitely the level, I think, of the investment into beauty has dramatically increased here in Eastern Europe. So they don't show up. Yeah, sure, they are born with a certain amount of youth. Well, you're born with a certain amount of natural beauty that you can work on. And obviously, if you're younger, you're like 20 years of age, then yeah, it might seem like you just have to show up. But, you know, I've seen girls who maybe look super hot in 1920, and then you see them by the time they're 25 and they're a wreck. So obviously, if you abuse your body and don't invest time and good routines into maintain your beauty, most girls are going to lose it. So it's not like they just have to show up and exist in order to get all this. Most of them are actually working quite a bit on it.
That a lot of girls deserve less.
Yeah, it just sounds extremely butt hurt, in my opinion. So you can't get the 9s and 10s. It doesn't even sound like you can get the 7s and 8s, because he's telling, his advice is go for the 5s and 6s, the soft 6s. Again, typical of the manosphere, pickup artists, red pill gurus, dating gurus, whatever. Basically, the height of their aspirations is a 6, soft 6, and then they just like bitterly, butthurtly hate on the 9s and 10s because they got scorned. And to be frank, it sounds like they get scorned by a soft 6 who's got a bad attitude as well. These guys, I don't see any evidence that they actually date 9s and 10s. And if they're already settling for a 5 or a 6, indicates that it didn't work out with the 7s and 8s either. So we love, or I love, and my clients love, the 9s and 10s, the beautiful women of Eastern Europe, the sincere, good valued, beautiful women of Eastern Europe. And this kind of toxic attitude, you know, red pill in general just put it succinctly, blames women for their problems in their dating lives rather than, you know, figuring out how to raise their value, the perception of their value, which is for me really the key issue, I think, for red pill guys. And that is what we work on here on the Zara Experience. And really my question for you is, do you want to date the 9s and 10s of Eastern Europe? Or you want to settle for a soft 6 in Miami? Because if that's what you want, well, good luck to you, because you don't need to come to Eastern Europe. You don't need to probably work so much on yourself. You don't need to know where the best places are here. You know, the clubs are going to be jam-packed with the hottest girls, whether they're baddies or goodies. Yeah, you don't need to aspire for very much. I mean, if you're willing to settle for that, then probably the Zara Experience is lost cause in you. But if you're still listening to me react to this video and ramble on, then you probably are aspiring to date the uber beautiful, the Olympian level beauty here that you can find in Eastern Europe more than any other part of the world. And what are you doing next weekend? Because it could be you with me living it up large here in Eastern Europe. The Zara Experience is not for everybody. Down below is the application form. But first, you should check out 2 playlists that I put together. One is about dating the 9s and 10s of Eastern Europe. Obviously, for someone like the guys from Fresh and Fit, there's no need to watch that. They're settling for their soft 6s over there in Miami. So go check out that one first. And then the second one is the cities that I lived as our experience with here in Eastern Europe. At the moment, I've been going for the last, I guess it's 8 or 9 months, to here in Chisinau, Moldova, also to Almaty, the Almighty in Kazakhstan, was up recently in Riga in Latvia, and also in Warsaw in Poland. We are not currently going together to Ukraine, Russia, or Belarus because of the ongoing Russo-Ukrainian war. And you know, my clients in general, they've used a few expressions to describe me, which is number 1, the insider, because you can come here on your own and you can invest a lot of time. Maybe you get lucky and you find the right place, but probably you're not getting through face control, because also here in Chisinau, to go to the best place, like the face control is savage, and it's a bit like my experience. I mean, if they don't know you, I'm not letting you in as a guy, right? So you're probably gonna have a frustrating time, especially if you come as a tourist with that tourist attitude. You're probably gonna end up in some expat pub, drinking, you know, out of those liter beer with some other tourists or, you know, expats here without any of the 9s and 10s anywhere to be seen in the locales that you're frequenting. And, you know, what I hear, a lot of guys who do this kind of more tourist experience, they probably end up in a strip club or in a brothel at the end because they find it really hard to get anywhere with the local girls on their trip here. And that is something you're going to find everywhere in Eastern Europe, even when I was in Warsaw, Poland. Like, if you don't have an insider, it's going to be really hard. The local girls in Eastern Europe, it's not like in the mid-90s where they're all desperate to leave and they had no options, and meeting some tourist came from America was a big deal for them. Now, they got Instagram, they got Tinder, they, you know, if those guys are sliding into their DMs, if they're bodies and they're just interested in being flown to the yacht party in Dubai, well, they're already gone. Because they were easy to find. Like, there's no girl who's completely hidden with modern technology that's developed over the last 10 years. And the other thing that's changed in the last, say, 10 years here in Eastern Europe is the ease of travel, because even with a Moldovan passport, they have visa-free. For example, to the Schengen area in Europe, at least 35% of the population in Moldova has an EU passport, because they have Romanian citizenship or Bulgarian citizenship. So they already have a Western passport. So basically they can go and live wherever they want. So in general, the girls are looking for a guy who's definitely not a tourist. They don't need some guy to escape here in you know, life in Moldova. If they want to leave, they can basically just go to the airport or take a bus. They can afford it, the flight, and they can just settle in Western Europe today if they want to. It's not the same for everyone in Eastern Europe, but obviously Poland's in the EU, the Baltics are in the EU. Ukrainian passport is now stronger than probably my past Western passports. Yeah, it's a little bit different maybe in Kazakhstan or in Belarus and Russia at the moment, but in general, just being a tourist, not going to cut it here. So you do need the insider. Other former clients have called me the special forces for coming here because of my encyclopedic knowledge of the region and of dating here, because I have been here on and off for over a decade, and you know, I've gone out on literally and definitely on thousands of dates, hundreds of dates with the 9s and 10s, and dated many a 9 or 10 here in Eastern Europe, unlike these guys who are giving this advice and telling you to stay away from them. So if you want to tap into that and have a plan and have an unforgettable weekend with me here in Eastern Europe with uber beautiful women who are not the bodies in general. We love 9s and 10s, our Eastern European 9s and 10s. So on that note, if you're into that, down below is an application form, and could be you here with me pretty soon, living the Zara experience. So from Chisinau, the capital of Moldova, it's La Revedere, and I'll see you very soon in another video.
Zara Experience.